David worked at a small design company in the city. Every day felt the same, sitting at his computer, making logos and websites for clients who never seemed happy. His boss always wanted changes, his deadlines were tight, and his paycheck barely covered his rent. By the time he got home each night, he was exhausted, but when David finally fell asleep, something amazing happened. His dreams were like movies, so clear and real that sometimes he forgot he was dreaming. He would fly over mountains, talk to people from his past, and visit places that felt more beautiful than anywhere in the real world. His therapist, Dr. Johnson, told him to write down his dreams. "It might help you understand what's bothering you," she said. So David bought a small notebook and kept it by his bed. Every morning he would write down everything he could remember. The dreams kept getting stranger. He would dream about conversations with people he had never met, about places he had never been. One night he dreamed he was sitting in a coffee shop talking to a woman with dark hair about the power of the mind. She told him that dreams were doorways and that some people knew how to walk through them. That Tuesday morning was gray and rainy. David decided to try a new coffee shop he had never been to before. Something about it felt familiar as he walked in. The smell of coffee mixed with old books, soft jazz music playing in the background, and people typing quietly on their laptops. He ordered his usual black coffee and found a table by the window. That's when he saw her. The woman from his dream was sitting at a corner table reading a thick book. She had the same dark hair, the same gentle smile. David's heart started beating fast. This had to be a coincidence. He tried not to stare, but he couldn't help himself. The woman looked up from her book and their eyes met. She smiled and waved him over. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said with a laugh. Her voice was exactly the same as in his dream. "I'm sorry. You look familiar," David said, sitting down across from her. "I'm Luna," she said, closing her book. David could see the title. "The Science of Lucid Dreaming." "David," he replied, still feeling confused. "This might sound weird, but I think I dreamed about you." Luna didn't look surprised at all. "That doesn't sound weird to me. I study dreams. People dream about strangers all the time. Sometimes those strangers turn out to be real people they haven't met yet." They talked for 2 hours. Luna knew so much about dreams and the mind. She told him about lucid dreaming, where you know you're dreaming and can control what happens. She explained how some people could train their minds to remember dreams better and even share dream experiences with others. "Have you been sleeping badly lately?" Luna asked. David was shocked. He had been having trouble sleeping for weeks, but he hadn't mentioned it to anyone except his therapist. "How did you know that?" "You have the look of someone whose mind is too active at night. Your dreams are probably very intense right now because your brain is processing a lot of stress." She was right about everything. David felt like Luna could see right into his thoughts. As they talked, the rain got heavier outside. Luna checked her watch and said she had to leave for an appointment. She wrote her phone number on a napkin. "Call me if you want to learn more about your dreams," she said. "I think you have a natural gift for this kind of thing." That night, David had the most incredible dream of his life. He was standing in a place that looked like a library, but the books were floating in the air. Around him, Luna was there, wearing a long white dress that seemed to glow. "Welcome to the space between sleeping and waking," she said. "This is where we can really talk." They walked through rooms made of clouds and light. Luna showed him doors that led to different dreams. She opened one door and inside was David's childhood home. Another door led to a beach he had never seen but somehow knew. "Everyone dreams," Luna explained, "but most people forget their dreams the moment they wake up. You remember yours because your mind is ready for more." "More of what?" David asked. "More control. More understanding. The ability to use your dreams to change your real life." David woke up with a start. The dream had felt so real that he could still smell the strange, sweet air from that floating library. He grabbed his notebook and wrote down every detail he could remember. As he was writing, he heard something slide under his door. David went to check and found a folded piece of paper on the floor. Inside, in handwriting he recognized, were the words, "Your dream was just the beginning. Call me when you're ready to learn more. Luna." David looked at his phone. It was 3 in the morning. He had been asleep for only 2 hours, but somehow Luna had left him this note. His apartment was on the 3rd floor of a building with a locked entrance. How had she gotten in? How had she known about his dream? He sat on his bed, holding the note and staring at Luna's phone number on the napkin from the coffee shop. Nothing like this had ever happened to him before. Part of him wanted to throw the note away and pretend this was all just his imagination. But another part of him was curious. What if Luna really could teach him about dreams? What if there was more to sleeping than just resting? His regular life felt so boring and predictable. Every day was work, eat, sleep, repeat. But his dreams were full of adventure and mystery. David looked out his window at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Luna was probably sleeping too. Was she dreaming right now? Could she really visit other people's dreams like she had visited his? He picked up his phone and stared at her number. His finger hovered over the call button, but he couldn't bring himself to press it. It was too late to call anyone, and besides, what would he say? "Hi, I think you magically appeared in my dream and then somehow got into my locked apartment building to leave me a note?" Instead, David put the phone down and tried to go back to sleep. But every time he closed his eyes, he saw Luna's face and heard her voice saying, "Your dream was just the beginning." He lay awake until sunrise, thinking about floating libraries and doors that led to other worlds. When his alarm went off, he felt tired but also excited. Something in his life was about to change. He could feel it. David waited 3 days before calling Luna. He kept staring at her number, wondering if he was losing his mind. Finally, on Friday evening, after another boring day at work, he picked up the phone. "I was wondering when you'd call," Luna said. Before he even said hello, "How did you know it was me?" "Lucky guess," she laughed. "Are you ready to learn about your dreams?" They met that Saturday at a park near the river. Luna brought a small backpack filled with books and notebooks. She looked different in the daylight. More normal, but still mysterious. "Before we start, I need to tell you something," Luna said as they sat on a bench. "What I'm going to teach you isn't like anything you've learned before. Some people think it's impossible. Others think it's dangerous. What exactly are you going to teach me? How to control your dreams while you're dreaming. How to remember everything that happens. And eventually, how to make your dream experiences affect your real life." David felt excited and scared at the same time. Is that even possible? "You tell me. You dreamed about me before we met, right? And somehow you knew exactly where to find me that day." She was right. David had never been to that coffee shop before, but something had pulled him there. Luna opened one of her books and showed him pictures of brain scans. Scientists have been studying dreams for decades. They know that when we dream, our brains are just as active as when we're awake, sometimes even more active. She explained that most people forget their dreams because they don't pay attention to them. But with practice, anyone could learn to remember their dreams clearly, and once you could remember them, you could start to control them. "It's like learning to play an instrument," Luna said. "At first it seems impossible, but with practice, it becomes natural." They spent the next 2 hours doing simple exercises. Luna taught him breathing techniques to help him relax. She showed him how to look at his hands while awake and ask himself, "Am I dreaming?" This would become a habit that would carry over into his dreams. "The key is to question reality all the time," Luna explained. "In dreams, Things don't always make sense, but we accept them anyway. If you train yourself to notice when things are strange, you'll start noticing it in your dreams too. Luna also taught him about dream journals. Write down everything, even if it seems silly. Dreams have their own logic. What seems meaningless today might be important later. That night, David tried Luna's techniques. He spent 10 minutes breathing, slowly and deeply before bed. He looked at his hands and asked, "Am I dreaming?" several times. Then he placed his dream journal and pen right next to his pillow. His dream that night was different. He was in his office, but the walls were painted bright purple, and his computer screen showed pictures of tropical beaches instead of his work projects. Suddenly, he remembered Luna's training. This is strange, he thought in the dream. Walls aren't supposed to be purple. Am I dreaming? He looked at his hands in the dream. They looked fuzzy and kept changing shape. That's when he realized he was dreaming, and he knew it. The moment he understood he was dreaming, everything in the dream became more vivid. The colors got brighter. He could feel the carpet under his feet more clearly. And for the first time in his life, he could control what happened next. David decided to fly. He jumped up from his desk chair and soared through the purple walls out into a sky filled with stars. He had never felt so free. When he woke up, he immediately wrote everything down. His handwriting was messy because he was excited, but he captured every detail. Luna was thrilled when he called her the next morning. "You did it on your first try. That's incredible. Most people take weeks to have their first lucid dream. They started meeting regularly, sometimes at the park, sometimes at different coffee shops around the city. Luna taught him more advanced techniques, how to make dream objects appear, how to change the scenery in his dreams, how to find specific people in his dream world. But the strangest thing was what started happening during his regular day. David began noticing small coincidences everywhere. He would dream about eating pizza, and then his coworker would bring pizza to the office the next day. He dreamed about finding a $20 bill, and the next afternoon he found exactly that amount in an old jacket pocket. At first, David thought these were just normal coincidences. Everyone has experiences like that. But they kept happening, and they were getting more specific. One night, he dreamed he was walking through a bookstore and found a book about ancient myths. The next day, while walking to lunch, he passed a small bookstore he had never noticed before. Something made him go inside. On a table near the front door was the exact same book from his dream. David bought the book and called Luna immediately. "This is getting weird," he told her. "It's like my dreams are predicting the future." "Not predicting," Luna said. "Creating. Your mind is starting to influence the world around you. This is what I meant when I said dreams could affect real life." "But how is that possible?" "Think about it. You spend 8 hours a day in dream world. Your subconscious mind is incredibly powerful. When you train it through lucid dreaming, you're not just controlling your dreams. You're training your whole mind to focus on what you want." Luna suggested they take his training to the next level. She wanted him to meet some other people who had learned these techniques. "There's a group of us who get together once a week," she said. "We share our experiences and help each other improve. I think you're ready to join us." David felt nervous, but excited. He had always been a loner, but the idea of meeting other people who understood what he was experiencing sounded amazing. "Where do you meet?" "There's an old house on Maple Street. The woman who owns it has been studying dreams for 20 years. She lets us use her living room every Thursday night." That Thursday, David drove to Maple Street feeling butterflies in his stomach. The house Luna had described was a big old Victorian with a wraparound porch and lots of windows. It looked like the kind of place where interesting things happened. Luna met him at the front door and led him inside. The living room was cozy, with soft couches arranged in a circle and bookshelves covering every wall. 4 other people were already there, sitting quietly and sipping tea. Everyone, Luna said. This is David. He's been working with lucid dreaming for 2 weeks, and he's already experiencing manifestations. David felt embarrassed. I don't know if I'd call them manifestations, just some weird coincidences. An older woman with gray hair smiled at him. That's how it starts for everyone. Small things first, then bigger things. Welcome to our group. David, I'm Rose, and this is my house. As David looked around at the friendly faces, he felt like he had found something he didn't even know he was looking for. These people understood what he was going through. They knew what it felt like to live in 2 worlds, the dream world and the waking world. For the first time in months, David felt like he truly belonged somewhere. The group meetings at Rose's house became the highlight of David's week. Every Thursday evening, he would drive to the old Victorian house and spend 2 hours with people who understood his strange new world. There was Tom, a quiet man in his 40s who had been practicing dream control for 5 years. He could visit any place in the world through his dreams and would wake up knowing facts about those places that he had never learned before. There was Kelly, a young teacher who used her dreams to solve problems at work. She would dream about difficult students and wake up with new ideas for helping them. And then there was James, who had been part of the group the longest. He rarely spoke during meetings, but when he did, everyone listened carefully. James claimed he could dream about future events, and that many of his dreams had come true in real life. The key, Rose would tell them during each meeting, is to start small. Don't try to change your whole life through dreams. Begin with tiny things. A parking spot when you need one, finding something you lost, meeting someone who can help you. David followed her advice. Each night before sleep, he would focus on one small thing he wanted to happen the next day. He would dream about it, and more often than not, it would actually happen. He dreamed about finding a good coffee shop near his office, and the next day discovered a new place that served the best coffee he had ever tasted. He dreamed about his boss being in a good mood, and the next morning his boss complimented his work for the first time in months. But everything changed the night David had his biggest dream yet. He had been feeling stuck at his job for years. The pay was low, the work was boring, and he felt like he was wasting his talents. That Tuesday night, he decided to dream about something bigger than usual. In his dream, David was sitting in a beautiful office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean. A well-dressed woman was offering him a job at her company. She explained that they needed someone with his exact skills to help design websites for luxury hotels around the world. "We've been looking for someone like you for months," the woman said in the dream. "Your portfolio is exactly what we need. When can you start?" The dream felt incredibly real. David could smell the ocean air coming through the open windows. He could feel the expensive leather chair he was sitting in. The woman handed him a business card that read Pacific Design Studios, with an address in San Francisco. When David woke up, he felt different. The dream had been so vivid that he spent the morning feeling like it had actually happened. He even looked online for Pacific Design Studios, but found nothing. 3 days later, David's phone rang at work. The caller ID showed a number he didn't recognize. "Hello, is this David Chen?" asked a professional-sounding woman. "Yes, this is David. My name is Lisa Park, and I'm calling from Pacific Design Studios in San Francisco. We found your portfolio online, and we're very impressed with your work. We have an opening for a senior web designer, and we think you'd be perfect for the position." David almost dropped the phone. This was exactly like his dream, down to the woman's voice and the company name. "I'm sorry, but I don't think I've ever sent you my portfolio," David said, confused. "Really? We have a beautiful portfolio here with your name on it. Photos of websites for hotels and restaurants. The work is exceptional." David was sure he had never created a portfolio like that, but he didn't want to miss this opportunity. "Could you email me the details about the position?" he asked. "Of course, but I should mention we need someone to start next month. The salary is significantly higher than what most designers make at your level. We work with luxury clients around the world, and we offer full relocation assistance to San Francisco. After the call ended, David sat at his desk staring at his computer screen. Everything the woman had described matched his dream perfectly. But how was this possible? He had never applied to this company. He had never created a portfolio of hotel websites, yet somehow they had found him. That evening, David called Luna immediately. "This is incredible," Luna said when he finished telling her about the phone call. "You've made a major breakthrough. You're not just controlling your dreams anymore. You're using them to create real opportunities." "But how did they get my portfolio? I never made one like that." "Think about it, David. In your dream, you had already done the work. Your subconscious mind created that reality so strongly that it started to exist in the physical world too." David felt excited but also a little scared. "Is this normal? Do other people in the group experience things like this?" There was a pause before Luna answered. "Some do. The people who really commit to the practice can create amazing changes in their lives. But you need to be careful, David. When you start manifesting bigger things, there can be unexpected consequences." "What kind of consequences?" "Nothing dangerous," Luna said quickly. "Just that the universe has a way of balancing things out. When something wonderful comes into your life, you might find that something else changes too." Over the next week, David prepared for his phone interview with Pacific Design Studios. The more he researched the company, the more amazed he became. They really did work with luxury hotels around the world. Their office really did have floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the San Francisco Bay. Everything matched his dream exactly. But as the days passed, David started noticing other changes in his life. Small things at first. His favorite restaurant changed their menu and no longer served his usual dish. His upstairs neighbor, who had been quiet for years, suddenly started playing loud music at night. His car, which had always been reliable, began making strange noises. Then bigger things started changing. His sister called to tell him she was moving across the country for a new job. His best friend from college, who he talked to every few weeks, stopped returning his calls. His grandmother, who had been healthy, fell and broke her hip. David tried not to think about what Luna had said about balance, but the timing seemed too strange to be coincidental. The phone interview went perfectly. Lisa Park offered him the job on the spot with a salary that was double what he was making. She wanted him to start in 3 weeks. As David hung up the phone, he felt a mix of excitement and worry. His dream was coming true in the most amazing way possible, but what was he losing in return? And more importantly, was he ready to find out? That night, he had trouble sleeping. For the first time since he started learning dream control, David was afraid of what his dreams might bring. David moved to San Francisco 3 weeks later. The job at Pacific Design Studios was everything he had dreamed of and more. His new office had that same ocean view from his dream, and his coworkers were talented and friendly. For the first time in years, he actually looked forward to going to work, but the strange changes in his life kept happening. His grandmother's condition got worse, and she had to move into a care facility. His childhood dog, who had been healthy just months before, suddenly became sick and passed away. His savings account, which he had been building for years, was completely drained by unexpected medical bills and moving expenses. David tried to convince himself these were just normal life events. Bad things happen to everyone, right? But the timing felt too perfect. Every good thing that came into his life seemed to be balanced by something sad or difficult. He started having trouble sleeping again. But this time, it was different. Without Luna and the group meetings, his dreams became wild and uncontrollable. Instead of the peaceful, controlled experiences he had learned to create, his nights were filled with confusing images and conversations that made no sense. He tried calling Luna, but she never answered. He drove back to Rose's house on a Thursday evening, hoping to rejoin the group meetings, but the house was dark and empty. A neighbor told him that Rose had moved away suddenly, leaving no forwarding address. David felt lost and confused. He had built his new life around the dream techniques Luna had taught him, but now he couldn't reach any of the people who had helped him learn them. That's when he decided to do some research on his own. David spent hours online looking for information about dream manipulation and the people who practiced it. What he found made his stomach turn cold. There were forum posts from people describing experiences very similar to his own. They had met mysterious teachers who promised to help them control their dreams and manifest their desires. At first, everything seemed wonderful. They got new jobs, found love, achieved goals they had always wanted. But then the balance started. For every good thing that manifested, something else in their lives fell apart. Relationships ended. Family members got sick, money disappeared, and worst of all, they found they couldn't dream normally anymore without their teachers. One post particularly caught David's attention. A man named Robert wrote about his experience with a woman who sounded exactly like Luna. "She taught me everything. About lucid dreaming," Robert wrote. "For 6 months, my life was amazing. I got promoted, met the woman of my dreams, moved into a beautiful apartment, but then I realized what was really happening. Every good thing in my life was being taken from someone I cared about. My promotion came because my best friend was unfairly fired. The woman I fell in love with had just broken up with her long-term boyfriend for no reason she could explain. My new apartment became available because the previous tenant had a family emergency and had to move suddenly." Robert went on to explain that when he tried to stop working with his teacher, he discovered he couldn't sleep normally anymore. His natural dreams were replaced by nightmares so intense that he was afraid to close his eyes. "I think she was feeding off our dream energy somehow," Robert wrote. "All of us in the group were like batteries, and she was using us to power her own abilities. When I finally broke free, it took months to recover. Some people in my group never did." David felt sick as he read post after post describing similar experiences. Teachers who appeared mysteriously, groups that met in old houses, amazing manifestations followed by terrible losses, and students who became dependent on their instructors to dream properly. He found phone numbers and email addresses for some of these people and started reaching out. Most didn't respond, but a few were willing to talk. Catherine had escaped from a similar group in Chicago 2 years earlier. When David called her, she sounded tired but determined to help. "The hardest part," she told him, "is accepting that none of it was real magic. These people are just very good at psychological manipulation. They teach you techniques that actually work for controlling dreams, but then they make you dependent on them for the experience." "But how do they cause the manifestations?" David asked. "They don't. You do. The human mind is incredibly powerful, and when you focus it through dream work, you really can influence events around you. But these teachers take credit for your natural abilities and convince you that you need them to access your own power." Catherine explained that his teacher had probably been subtly influencing his dreams from the beginning, making him believe she was more powerful than she actually was. "They're like psychological vampires," she said. "They find people who are unhappy with their lives and offer them hope. Then they slowly take control of their minds while claiming to help them." David spent the next week contacting more former students. Everyone told similar stories. The teachers would disappear when students started asking too many questions. The groups would dissolve suddenly, leaving members unable to function normally. Most disturbing of all, several people told him that their teachers seemed to become younger and more energetic over time, while the students became exhausted and dependent. "I think they were literally feeding off our life energy," one woman told him. "By the time I escaped, I looked 10 years older than when I started, and my teacher looked 10 years younger." David looked at himself in the mirror that night. He did look tired. His eyes had dark circles that hadn't been there before. His hair seemed thinner. Even his skin looked pale and unhealthy. But the worst part was the dreams. Without Luna's guidance, his sleep had become a nightmare. He would dream of being trapped in endless hallways, chased by shadows, or falling through empty space. He woke up exhausted every morning, feeling like he hadn't slept at all. David realized he had to find Luna and confront her. He couldn't continue living like this, afraid to sleep and unable to dream properly. But more importantly, he couldn't let her do this to other people. He started researching her background, using the few details she had shared about herself. It took weeks, but eventually he found records of similar groups in 3 other cities over the past 10 years. The teachers had different names, but the descriptions were always the same. Dark-haired women who seemed to know more about their students than they should. In each city, the groups had lasted about 2 years before disappearing suddenly. And in each place, there were reports of people seeking help for sleep disorders and psychological problems after their dream teachers vanished. David finally found an address. Luna was operating a new group in Portland, using a different name but the same methods. According to online posts, she was recruiting new students for dream workshops in a house that sounded exactly like Rose's old place. As David booked a flight to Portland, he felt scared but determined. He had to stop Luna before she destroyed more lives. But first, he had to figure out how to break free from her influence completely. The problem was, he still needed her techniques to sleep properly. Breaking away from her would mean facing weeks or months of nightmares and insomnia, but staying connected to her meant remaining trapped in a cycle that was slowly draining his life away. David packed his bags, knowing he was about to face the most difficult challenge of his life. He had to save himself and warn others, even if it meant risking his sanity in the process. David flew to Portland on a rainy Thursday morning. He had spent weeks planning this confrontation, but now that he was actually here, he felt terrified. What if Luna was more powerful than he thought? What if he couldn't break free from her influence? He rented a car and drove to the address he had found online. The house looked exactly like Rose's place in his old city, a big Victorian with a wraparound porch and lots of windows. David parked across the street and waited. At 7 in the evening, people started arriving. David watched as 5 individuals walked up to the front door, looking excited and hopeful. They reminded him of himself 6 months ago, people searching for something more meaningful in their lives. David waited until everyone was inside, then walked up to the door. His heart was pounding as he knocked. Luna answered the door, but she looked different. Her skin seemed to glow with health, and her eyes were brighter than he remembered. She looked at least 5 years younger than when he had first met her. "David," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I was wondering when you'd find me." "We need to talk," David said. "Of course. Come in." The living room was set up, exactly like Rose's had been. The same circle of comfortable chairs, the same bookshelves, the same soft lighting. The 5 new students looked at David curiously as Luna introduced him. "Everyone, this is David. He's one of my most successful former students. David, why don't you tell the group about your experiences with dream manifestation?" David looked around at the eager faces. These people had no idea what they were getting into. He had to warn them, but he also had to be careful. Luna was clearly trying to use him to convince them that her methods worked. "Actually," David said, "I came here to talk about the problems I've been having since I stopped working with Luna." The room went quiet. Luna's smile faded slightly. "What kind of problems?" asked a young man in the group. David told them everything. The nightmares, the exhaustion, the way good things in his life had been balanced by losses. As he spoke, he watched the students' faces change from excitement to concern. "David is going through a difficult adjustment period," Luna said smoothly. "When you've been using advanced dream techniques and then stop suddenly, there can be some temporary side effects." "Temporary?" David said. "It's been 3 months, and it's getting worse, not better." One of the students, an older woman, raised her hand. I've been having some strange experiences too. Good things happening, but then bad things following right after. That's completely normal, Luna said quickly. It's just coincidence. David is trying to scare you because he's upset about his own situation, but David could see doubt in the students' eyes. He pressed on, telling them about his research, about the other people who had escaped from similar groups, about the pattern of teachers who disappeared when students started asking questions. You can look this up yourselves, David said. Search online for dream manipulation groups or lucid dreaming teachers. You'll find dozens of stories just like mine. Luna stood up abruptly. I think this session is over for tonight, she announced. David, I'd like to speak with you privately. The students left reluctantly, whispering among themselves. David could tell they were planning to do their own research. When they got home, when they were alone, Luna's friendly mask dropped completely. You have no idea what you're doing, she said coldly. You think you can just walk away from this? You're connected to me now, David. Without my guidance, your mind will tear itself apart. I know what you've been doing, David said, trying to keep his voice steady. You've been feeding off people's dream energy, using them to make yourself stronger while they get weaker. Luna laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. You think you understand, but you don't. Yes, I draw energy from my students, but I also give them real power. Without me, you never would have gotten that job in San Francisco. You never would have learned to control your dreams. And what did it cost me? My grandmother is sick. My dog died. My savings are gone. Every good thing you helped me create came at the expense of something else I cared about. That's how the universe works, Luna said. Energy can't be created or destroyed, only transferred. I didn't make those rules. But you profit from them. And you don't tell people the truth about what they're getting into. Luna moved closer, and David felt a strange pressure in his head, like someone was trying to reach into his thoughts. You can't fight me, David. Even now I'm connected to your dreams. I can make your nightmares so much worse. I can make sure you never sleep peacefully again. David felt the pressure intensify, but he had prepared for this moment. Catherine, the woman who had escaped from the Chicago group, had taught him some techniques for protecting his mind. He focused on his breathing, the way Luna had originally taught him, but this time, he used it to build walls around his thoughts, instead of opening them up. I'm not the same person who joined your group 6 months ago, David said. I've learned to protect myself. Luna's eyes widened with surprise as her mental pressure hit his defenses and bounced back. For the first time since he had known her, she looked uncertain. You can't maintain those barriers forever, she said. Eventually you'll get tired, and I'll be waiting. Maybe, David said, but I don't have to fight you forever. I just have to warn enough people about what you do. Once your reputation spreads, you won't be able to find new students. David left the house feeling drained, but victorious. He had faced Luna directly and proven to himself that he could resist her influence. Over the next few days, he reached out to the 5 students from that night's meeting. 3 of them were willing to listen. He shared his research with them, put them in touch with other people who had escaped similar groups, and helped them find legitimate resources for learning about dreams and meditation. The withdrawal from Luna's influence was hard. For 2 months, David barely slept. When he did manage to fall asleep, his dreams were chaotic and frightening. But gradually, with help from a real sleep specialist and a therapist who understood psychological manipulation, his natural sleep patterns returned. 6 months later, David was living a normal life again. His dreams were his own, sometimes good, sometimes strange, but always genuinely his. He had learned to control them naturally, without needing anyone else's power. He started a blog called Dream Warnings, where he shared his story and helped other people recognize the signs of manipulative dream teachers. He received emails from around the world from people who had similar experiences. The best part was that his real life had actually improved since breaking free from Luna. His job in San Francisco was going well, and he had made genuine friends among his coworkers. His relationships with his family had healed. His savings were slowly growing again. Most importantly, David had learned that real power came from within himself. He didn't need a mysterious teacher or a secret group to access his own mind's abilities. The techniques for lucid dreaming and dream control were available in books and legitimate courses. He had always had the power to change his life. He had just needed to believe in himself. David never saw Luna again, but he heard from other former students that she had moved on to a new city with a new identity. He made sure to post warnings in online forums whenever reports of her activities surfaced. Sometimes, late at night, David would still feel a faint pressure at the edge of his dreams, as if someone was trying to reach in from outside. But his mental defenses held strong, and he would wake up knowing that he was truly free. The experience had taught him that the most dangerous traps are the ones that promise to give you exactly what you want. Real growth, real power, and real happiness come from honest work on yourself, not from shortcuts offered by people who claim to have secret knowledge. David's dreams were completely his own now, and that was worth more than any manifestation Luna had ever helped him create.